Imagine a place on Earth so remote that the closest people to you aren't on any continent. You're in space, floating 400 kilometers above your head in the International Space Station. This isn't science fiction. This is Point Nemo, the most isolated location on our planet. But its profound loneliness is just the beginning of its story. It's also a graveyard, a place where the titans of the sky come to die. So what secrets are hidden at this point of inaccessibility, and why is it one of the most mysterious and important locations you've probably never heard of? We think of our world as completely connected, crisscrossed by shipping lanes, flight paths, and fiber optic cables. It feels like every corner of the planet is mapped and known. But there is a place that defies this modern reality. It's a point not of land, but of pure, uninterrupted ocean. Its official name is the Oceanic Pole of Inaccessibility, but it's better known by its hauntingly perfect nickname, Point Nemo. So what does it mean to be the pole of inaccessibility? It means if you were floating at this exact spot, it would be farther from land than anywhere else on Earth. The nearest coastline is a staggering 2,688 kilometers, or 1,670 miles away. To put that into perspective, that's a greater distance than a flight from New York to Dallas. It's wider than the entire country of India. Imagine setting sail from the coast in Trevally, India, for over 1,000 miles in one direction, and turning 90 degrees and traveling another 1,000 miles, then another, all without seeing so much as a speck of land. At the heart of that immense void is Point Nemo. There's no island here, no buoy, no marker of any kind. It is a purely theoretical point, defined by its equal remoteness from 3 lonely sentinels of land. To the north lies Ducie Island, a tiny, uninhabited atoll. To the northeast is Motu Nui, a rocky islet off the coast of Easter Island, itself one of the most remote islands in the world. And to the south, there is Mar Island, a bleak, ice-covered piece of rock near Antarctica. Being at Point Nemo means you are at the center of a circle of water more than 5,000 kilometers across an area of ocean, larger than all of North America. It is the very definition of solitude, a place where the horizon in every direction is nothing but the endless blue of the South Pacific. For most of human history, Point Nemo didn't technically exist. While it has always been the most remote stretch of ocean, its exact location was a geographical puzzle that was waiting for modern technology to solve. It wasn't found by a daring explorer in a wooden ship battling monstrous waves. Instead, it was pinpointed in 1992 by a Croatian-Canadian survey engineer named Hrvoje Lukatela, and he didn't even have to leave his office to find it. Lukatela used a specialized geospatial computer program to solve a unique problem. See, on a perfect sphere, the point farthest from land would be easy to find. But the Earth isn't a perfect sphere. It's a 3-dimensional ellipsoid. Lukatela's program had to calculate the one spot on the globe that was truly, mathematically, equidistant from 3 different coastlines. The result of his calculations gave us the coordinates that define this ultimate isolation: 48 degrees, 52.6 minutes south latitude, and 123 degrees, 23.6 minutes west longitude. Once he found it, the location needed a name. Lukatela, a fan of classic literature, chose one that was perfectly fitting: Nemo. The name is a direct tribute to Captain Nemo, famous anti-hero of Jules Verne's masterpiece, 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea. Captain Nemo was a man who deliberately cut his ties with humanity, choosing a life of exile in the vast, silent world beneath the waves. The name is also doubly clever, because Nemo in Latin translates directly to no one. It's a name that perfectly captures the essence of a place where no human had likely ever passed through before its discovery. The name itself is a declaration of emptiness. The sheer scale of Point Nemo's isolation is hard to grasp with distances alone. Maybe the best way to understand its remoteness is to simply look up. Because when you are at Point Nemo, your closest human neighbors are often not on this planet at all. They are the astronauts aboard the International Space Station. Think about that. The International Space Station orbits the Earth at an average altitude of around 400 kilometers, or about 250 miles. When its orbital path takes it directly over Point Nemo, the astronauts inside are hundreds of times closer to that spot than anyone on solid ground. Remember, the nearest land is over 2,688 kilometers away? The astronauts in their orbiting laboratory are a mere 400 kilometers above. Picture the scene. A sailor, after a journey of weeks across the most desolate ocean on the planet, finally arrives at these coordinates. They are more than 1,000 miles from help, from civilization, from another living soul. But if they look up at just the right moment, they might see a tiny, brilliant star moving silently across the empty sky. That star is the ISS, and the handful of people inside it are, in that moment, their closest companions in the universe. From the astronaut's perspective, the view is just as profound. As they pass over the South Pacific, they look down upon the largest, emptiest patch of blue on the globe. They are flying over a point so far from their fellow humans on the surface that they, the travelers in the vacuum of space, are the nearest people to it. The extreme isolation that makes Point Nemo a geographical curiosity also gives it a second, much stranger identity. This point of oceanic inaccessibility has been deliberately chosen by the world's space agencies to serve a very specific and very critical purpose. It is the world's undisputed spacecraft cemetery. For decades, space agencies from Russia, Europe, Japan, and the United States have all faced the same problem. What do you do with a satellite or space station at the end of its life? These are multi-ton objects moving at incredible speeds. Letting them fall out of orbit randomly would be an unacceptable risk to populated areas. So they needed to target a place on Earth so vast and empty that the risk of falling debris causing harm would be virtually zero. They needed Point Nemo. Since the 1970s, this region has become the final resting place for well over 250 spacecraft. The list includes defunct spy satellites, cargo ships that supplied the ISS, rocket stages, and most famously, entire space stations. The most legendary resident of this underwater graveyard is the Russian Mir space station. In 2001, after 15 years in orbit, the colossal 135-ton station was guided into a controlled descent. The world watched as it broke apart in a fiery spectacle across the sky, with its surviving, heaviest components plunging into the deep ocean right on target. And Mir isn't alone. It was preceded by 6 of Russia's Soyuz space stations. But the graveyard's most famous resident is yet to arrive. The International Space Station, a marvel of engineering the size of a football field, has a planned retirement date around 2031, when its mission finally ends. NASA and its partners plan to guide it to its own final resting place, here at the bottom of the world. The deorbiting process is a science in itself. As an object screams through the atmosphere, most of it burns up, but denser components like fuel tanks can survive. These are the pieces that complete the journey, sinking thousands of meters to settle in the cold, dark, silent abyss of Point Nemo, cosmic tomb nearly 4,000 meters deep. So, what lies beneath the waves of this oceanic pole of inaccessibility? Given that it's a graveyard for technology, you might imagine a bizarre artificial reef. And what about life? Is this remote region teeming with unique creatures? Reality is far stranger and far emptier. Scientists call Point Nemo a biological desert, one of the least life-filled regions in the entire ocean. The reason for this is a massive oceanic feature called the South Pacific Gyre. This is a huge, slow, rotating system of currents that basically walls off the area. It's preventing nutrient-rich water from flowing in. On top of that, being so far from land means there's no nutrient runoff from rivers, which normally provides the building blocks for marine ecosystems. Without nutrients, there's very little phytoplankton, the microscopic plants at the very bottom of the ocean's food chain. Without them, there's nothing for small fish to eat, and therefore nothing for larger predators. The result is water that is exceptionally clear, but eerily lifeless. There are no great schools of fish, no sharks, no whales. But life is stubborn. Deep on the ocean floor, thousands of meters down, there are hydrothermal vents cracks in the Earth's crust were superheated. Mineral-rich water billows out. In the total darkness, a unique ecosystem has formed. Instead of relying on sunlight, life here relies on chemosynthesis. Specialized bacteria thrive on the sulfur coming from the vents, and these bacteria, in turn, form the base of a very small, very local food chain. Scientists have documented small crabs and other hardy microorganisms clustered around these vents, surviving in an environment of extreme pressure, temperature, and isolation. So while the sunlit waters are a desert, life still clings on in the deep. Any place on Earth this isolated and empty is bound to become a canvas for the human imagination. Point Nemo is no exception. It's become a subject of myth, mystery, and even cosmic horror. The most famous mystery from this region is an underwater sound recorded in 1997 known as the Bloop. Detected by NOAA using a network of underwater microphones, the Bloop was an ultra-low frequency, but extremely powerful. Sound so loud it was picked up by sensors over 5,000 kilometers apart. Its audio profile resembled noises made by marine animals, but it was far louder than anything ever recorded, louder even than a blue whale. For years, speculation ran wild. Could it be some colossal, unknown sea monster lurking in the abyss? Eventually, science provided a less monstrous but equally powerful explanation. NOAA determined the bloop was the sound of a massive iceberg fracturing and cracking off an Antarctic glacier, phenomenon known as an icequake. While it wasn't a creature, it was the immense power of our planet's frozen titans breaking apart. But the region's connection to monsters doesn't end there. In a truly bizarre coincidence, the horror writer H.P. Lovecraft, in his 1928 story The Call of Cthulhu, described a sunken, nightmarish city called R'lyeh. This fictional city, home to a sleeping godlike monster, was located at 47 degrees 9 minutes south and 126 degrees 43 minutes west. These coordinates are astonishingly close to the real-world Point Nemo, which wouldn't be scientifically identified for another 66 years. For fans of weird fiction, this has cemented Point Nemo's reputation as a place of profound mystery, a spot on the map where the veil between our world and something ancient feels unsettlingly thin. So, how do you actually get to Point Nemo? Short answer is, with extreme difficulty. There are no tours, no cruise ships with it on their itinerary. Reaching the Oceanic Pole of Inaccessibility is a true expedition into the heart of the planet's most unforgiving ocean. A journey there requires a sturdy vessel and would take more than 2 weeks of constant sailing from the nearest port. The route crosses the infamous Roaring Forties and Furious 50s, latitudes known for ferocious winds and mountainous waves. It's a region where storms can form with terrifying speed, and where help isn't just days, but potentially weeks away. Anyone who ventures there is truly on their own. Because of this, very few humans have ever passed through the exact coordinates of Point Nemo. The closest most people ever get are elite sailors in round-the-world yacht races. It's like the ocean race. For them, passing Point Nemo is a major milestone. A moment signifying they are navigating the most remote water on the planet, where a small failure can become a catastrophe. In March of 2024, an expedition led by explorer Chris Brown documented the immense challenge of undertaking a journey specifically to reach these coordinates. This human element underscores the true nature of Point Nemo. It isn't just a point on a map, it's a challenge. It stands as one of the last true frontiers on our planet, a place that resists us not with walls, but with sheer, overwhelming distance. Point Nemo is a place of profound contradictions. It's an empty space on the map that's full of meaning. It's a location defined by its distance from land, yet its closest neighbors are often in the stars. It's a biological desert nearly devoid of life, yet it serves as a final resting place for some of our most advanced creations. It reminds us of the sheer scale of our planet. That even in our hyperconnected age, there are still voids of silence and solitude that command respect. It is an end of the line for the tools we build to explore the cosmos, but also a new beginning for our understanding of how life can survive in the most extreme environments. Point Nemo is a silent monument to our own curiosity, the loneliest place on Earth, and perhaps one of the most fascinating. If you found this journey to the edge of the world fascinating, subscribe to the channel and click the bell icon. We're always exploring the Earth's greatest mysteries, and you won't want to miss where we're going next. Thanks for watching.